I'm not sure if it's recording. Is
Yeah.
it showing inside it's recording?
Yes, now it's recording.
Okay, good. So I have PurEL. I always don't know how to call his name very well.
Well,
And, sorry. We want to discuss on autonomous lifestyle. We are really in the beginning of it. We can't. Anyway, what I've also realized that we are already, those people do consistent fasts are already on autonomous lifestyle. The only thing is that we are not totally food free, but with consistency. This is what I've had even with pranic people who are doing autonomy. Both, they say there is the partial and there's full. And another thing is also about not really focusing so much on the food part of the autonomy, because it's not just this lifestyle is not just about abstaining from food, but we can say food absence is like almost half of the thing. If you can be able to stay away from food for some time or for good, that is almost like half of it. But then there are other aspects of it. And we really wanted to dwell on this aspect of this kind of lifestyle, on what we call positivity, positive energy, good emotions, positive thoughts, how they're important in this kind of lifestyle. Yeah. So welcome, Purel.
thank you, thank you. Yes, I mean, there's so much to talk about fasting overall, but I think, as you said, a lot of people miss the idea of making it a long-term thing, because, okay, in the beginning, depending how you discover this, maybe most people have some that started have some sickness or some issue that pushes them in that direction, right? Which already means that you already have a struggle, and it's not easy to handle. So, and now you're going for something else that is kind of most people don't even end up doing in their life. And sometimes we see it like a war, right? Like we use this tool to fight against the disease that we have. But the problem with that is that at some point it's like counterintuitive, because what you discover is, as you're fasting more, you start to have more clarity of mind, and essentially you have synchronicities all around you, and you start to essentially manifest things much faster. And if your mind didn't adapt yet, which is I think what we talked about in our last call, and you don't stay positive through this process because you went too fast, and now it's very difficult, for example, and suddenly you have something in your life that came up, and now you're going to be in this mood, and you can self-destruct this way. And I think that's why I think that a lot of people go too fast with the fasting, because these days there's so much information, and thanks to you as well for interviewing all these people, and people, for me personally, like with Ellie Tomelamine, somebody that I worked with as well and still work with, that haven't eaten or drink anything for like 2 or 3 years now, and has been on this breatharian path for 20 years. And his mindset is sharp. He keeps his muscle. It's a well balanced person. But again, if you look at how he got to this point, it took him 20 years. 20 years being in the breatharian path until he got to almost full autonomous, you can say. And many people are these days, because the information is so available, they're trying to do it, in a year, 2 years, and maybe you can do it, and we see some people that do it. But think about it, like, if this is about healing disease, extending your lifespan, for me, I'm very interested in the idea of reversing the age, living long, and living good while living long. So if we're gonna have so many more years after that, why should we rush it? Isn't it more worth it to enjoy the process? And yeah. So for me, for example, when I started everything with the fasting, it was like, first of all, like for 5 years, I was eating plant-based, and I had a time that I lost some weight, and then I stabilized, and then I started to work out more, gain muscle, and I increased my weight a little bit. And then I started to hear again about the idea of vegetarians, and it was so interesting, right? That it's so captivating, the information, like, wow, can I really be food free, and in return I also have more energy, more healing power, and so on. And then I tried to start to eat raw foods. And you see, instead of jumping right into vegetarian, like immediately not eating or drinking, I wanted to first, on my baseline way of eating, to eat lighter, and get used to that first. So I did that for a couple of months, and then I started fasting. And one thing that I want to say, and then we'll get to the topic of positivity and doing it, ongoing and not too fast. I remember one thing that Ellie Tom said, that basically start to master it one day at a time, right? And make it like a habit. So it's almost like the gym, right? If you do 6 days in 1 week and then you come back to it 1 month later, that's not how you work out. You usually pick 1 or 2 days and you consistently maintain them. So it accumulates. And I think one thing that a lot of us discovered is that the fasting is cumulative as well. It doesn't have to be necessarily just one time a long fast, but if you do, let's say, 1 day a week, now 15% of your life you're fasting. So that's already a great thing. And yeah, and I started to do it like in the beginning 1 day, and I thought, wow, this should be hard, right? But then it wasn't that difficult. But I made it for myself the rule, the principle of, I'm not in this to suffer. In particularly, I didn't have a major disease. I had a feeling that I want to get super healthy, to have a higher capacity to handle everything that I'm doing in my life. And so yeah, I started with the 1 day a week, and when I did that, I said, I don't have a limit. I will see how my body feel. If I feel like I need to do 12 hours, I'll do 12 hours. If I can do 1 day, I'll do 1 day. And I ended up doing a day and a half, I think, the first time. And I felt that I could go longer, but I stopped on purpose because I thought it's more important to stick to it every week. That's what I learned. And then the next week it was again 1 day, 2 days, and then back to 1 day. But every week I did a fast, a dry fast. And eventually I was able to do 3 days, and until to the point that I did about, I think, 15 weeks in a row of dry fasting. And I felt so good this way. Every time I started on Friday around 6 p.m., and then I finished it when I was ready. And what I noticed, one very important thing that I noticed, is every time that I went out of the fast, it was easier psychologically to change the rest of the week, how I eat, the baseline of how I eat, I call it. I was able to eat lighter and lighter without telling myself that I have to. I didn't set, I have to do this. But because I came out of the dry fasting, my body changed. And now it felt like, I don't like so much this food. And it came from eating all kinds of raw food, the most complex things and heavy and dehydrated and so on, to a bit lighter, more salads. If I eat raw food, a little bit more fruits, right? And eventually it was more liquids and more. So I like this idea that to gradually fast weekly, to notice what your body is telling you, and to little by little change the baseline way you are eating. So it's never too far away, because obviously if you're, for somebody, dry fasting 1 day, if he eats meat in the week, it might be very difficult. So it might be wise to start with just, you know, fruit fasting for a day or something like that. And then naturally he would feel like, oh, my body doesn't ask for meat anymore. So I feel this is a healthier approach than saying to somebody, you know, just eliminate everything that you're used to, because you start to realize that a lot of the things are in the mind, and people have to adapt their mind, you know, and to stay positive with this as you go through changing things. But anyways, just to finalize this short background, then I got recently to 5 days of fasting. I did a few already of dry fasting. And then I realized, wow, my weekly habit that was so amazing, right? Every Friday I was doing dry fasting and I was stable on that. Now I cannot do it anymore, because when I do 5 days of dry fasting, I need a longer time to recover, right? And that was a journey on its own to figure out, because when I broke the habit in a way, it was harder to come back to it, because I didn't have the exact same time to start again and got confused. And in that time in my life also, I started to have a lot of things happening, because I have 5 different businesses that I'm handling, some online, some physical. And I'm creating new things all the time. I have like many people that I work with. And I had some stress in my life, and then I realized that it made it much more difficult to fast, you know. So in one way, the fasting makes it easier for you to handle stress. It's like the stress goes in and out of the body very quickly. I got to a point that if I have stress at work, let's say, and then I take 15 seconds to close my eyes and breathe, I cry it out, the stress right away. And it was so cool. Like for me, like as an entrepreneur, like I can take out the stress out of my body very quickly. So there's a lot of amazing benefits of fasting. But anyways, the point is that you have to expect that you will have some times in your life that things happen, and then from environment, from work, from whatever, and then it's more difficult to handle that part wherever point you are in the journey, right? To become autonomous and so on. So what I like to do is never go 100%, you know, go 80%, but progress through this 80%. For example, if I do 2 days of dry fasting, which I just did now, I could have done 3, 4 easily. But in this moment, because I didn't fast for 2 weeks, and I had a lot of stress the last week in work, I mean. So I felt to do 2 days. That's whatever it is, 80% of my capacity. And now I'm not over stressing about it, but I progressed, because last week I didn't fast. And then next time I can do more. So it's all about taking those little wins that allow you to stay positive, but you're still growing, because it's a long-term journey, right? And it all accumulates how much fasting you do in a year. And these are some of my initial thoughts. But Frederick, if you want to take it to another direction, I'll be more than happy.
I really want you to talk more about how to help with the stress. How do you, because you talked about it and I felt like that was very, it's like a punchline there. Most of the people who are going to listen to this thing are going to tell you that that is a skill they don't know about. Totally, it's the first time people are hearing it, and it's working. If it's worked for you, then it should also work for others. You know, it is not, some people to allow tears to come to come out is not easy, especially for men. Men crying, and for ladies it's natural. It's just flow. It will flow. It will flow. The skill, but others don't even know. Some ladies may not know that when they are stressed, they should allow that flow. How do you make yourself cry? Or how the skill of allowing the tears to come down? That's what I really want to know. Because now somebody knows, okay, this is what I should need to do. I need to find myself a place. Then I cry, allow the crying. But sometimes some people can, in between, what to do, but it's not happening. So so you have stress and you want to cry and the tears are all coming. That's what I'm ready. How do you handle that?
So first of all, it becomes, from my experience, it becomes easier the more you go in that journey, right? Because that journey is about removing blockages. This is what it is. The more blockages you remove, at some point, you get to a level of being that your body runs on its own, on energy, right? That's the whole idea. You don't have to consume, your body is self-sustainable. But there are different levels to it, right? And now what I mean by that is, if you're not good at removing blockages overall, of course it will be harder to cry, because crying is removing a blockage inside of you, right? Yawning is removing a blockage. Going to the toilet is that. So there are many ways that the body is releasing. But in the beginning, I didn't realize this, but at some point I realized that every time I yawn, you know what is yawning? Like this, comes tears as well in my eyes. And I realize it's a mechanism that the body is releasing things. It's some people think, oh, it means you're tired. But it also means that, of course, because that means the body wants to remove a blockage. So it's forcing you to meditate sleeping, basically. But honestly, over time, of course, it became faster, but all I have to do really is relax my body, which normally most of us know to relax our body when we close our eyes. Because when we close our eyes, normally we only do it when we sleep or when we meditate. So that already puts you in a subconscious mood of releasing. So you close your eyes and then you focus on your breath. And then if a yawning is coming, let it happen. And then it comes with the tears as well. So this is my experience, at least. But I feel that the more you release tension from your body through fasting or other things, you'll be more in tune with these mechanisms. Maybe not in the beginning. And yes, a lot of people are growing up thinking crying is bad. And let me tell you, when I was younger, I also was like this. But it's like I come from Israel, right, originally, and then I quit school when I was 15. I was doing business online. I traveled the world. But in Israel, a lot of people are very mental, I would say. Like they're very sharp in the mind, but sometimes not like using their brain and so on. Every country has like a certain average way of being. And I would say also in Israel, it's more masculine normally. And I grew up in this environment. And basically, my emotional side was a bit blocked, at least the way that I was like in school. I felt like I don't like school. I didn't feel like I connect with anybody. I was shy. I was depressed. I had social anxiety, these kind of things. Just to give some idea. As I grew older a little bit, I started to have confidence doing what I do in business, and then meeting other people, and then I resolved these issues more. But I still had the mental, you can call it the third eye chakra or whatever. This was working more, but it's not good because you need to balance it with all the other parts of you. And there's, let's say, the emotional part that you have to discover and to make it like a team, not like the brain is the boss and everybody else is under it. It's like you have the brain, which is great, or the mind, but you have the emotional side. You need to use them all in different ways. And the more I open up my emotional side, then it got more easy to cry at will and realize it's not a bad thing. It's a useful thing. And I started to practice more meditation and things like that, of course. Recently, I do a lot of Qigong, as Elitom is teaching. And the Qigong keeps you in one position, and it's teaching you to basically relax and breathe. And then out of the relaxation, out of not doing nothing, you are crying, because the body naturally wants to remove these things, and sometimes when I'm fasting, I do qigong or something like that, and at some point I will hear a noise in my stomach, and like I felt, and that's when I know that my body ate. And suddenly, like, you would feel like the need to cry, the more liquid in your mouth. You will feel to go to the toilet even though you didn't go in a day or something, maybe if you're deeper into the fasting. And that's when you know your body ate, right? But sometimes I get to eat sooner when I do something where I keep my body in a good position, I just rest. Because then we let the body do it faster. You know, when we keep moving, doing things, it's like the body doesn't relax. Now, I do think that doing some stretching, some form of light exercise is great for that too. It's doing the same. It's releasing the tension, moving the energy around the body. Um, so these are some things you can do to get you faster to be able to cry and release, right? And also sometimes focusing on a certain emotion that comes up, you know, and releasing that is good. Like, but that's a whole other topic on its own, because this whole journey is about releasing trapped emotions in our body, and in order to become free of them and just be happy, right? But my main message is, let's do it consistently. You know, what you build in one day falls the next day. You know, but if you do it week by week, over time, you break the, everybody thinks in terms of, let's say, 1 day or 2 day or 3 day fasting. So you think in terms of 24 hours, 26 hours, 28 hours, 30 hours. Just realize that it's even something you should even focus on, to try to not make it too big and too fast, so that you can sustain. There is a value in consistency. You gain, it's like muscles, right? We don't try in the first day in the gym to lift 100 kilo. We can die. We can die from 100 kilo, you know, lifting. There's people that died in the gym like this. So of course there's people that die trying right away, I don't know, to do very long dry fasting. Because in order to lift 100 kilo in the gym, there are many things that are important. There is the technique, there is the muscle being used to it. There's a lot of stuff. So it's the same with fasting. It's not just about the idea of, oh, I stop to eat and that's it. The mind, the mental part is, you know, is very important. And one thing that I mentioned to you is, I don't view it as one thing, like just dry fasting is a tool and that's it for better health. I want to get more flexible. I want to meditate better. I want to have more energy, you know, to maintain energy when I work. So for example, when I dry fast, many people normally they rest completely, right? I like to still work out. I work out 6 days in the gym. I have a home gym upstairs in the terrace, and I preferred to dry fast from the beginning 1 day and work out, then eventually get to 2 days while working out. Now it's harder to expand. Maybe I could have went to 4 days faster, but by having this balance before I expand for more days of dry fasting, I have more sustainability, if that makes sense. And I did an experiment in all these weeks of dry fasting consistently, that I still wanted to see how my muscles are affected, right? How my strength is affected when I work out. Now, of course, I lost a lot of weight. I lost around these 15 weeks about 10 kilo. Okay. But, and then I was already, you can consider skinny, right? And then I still lost another 10 kilo. But in all this time, I stick to 6 days a week working out. And I even found that it was easier for me to recover from the workouts. Now, somebody else would look at me and say, oh, he looked skinnier and skinnier, so he must not gain muscle. But what I realized is I was tracking everything, the weights I'm lifting, the repetition, and I was able to sustain the strength and increase it throughout this time. So this is one example of not giving up your lifestyle, while you're doing fasting. Don't make fasting your God, basically. And I feel when you do it like this, you can keep a good mindset and positivity. And then when you enter the week that is very difficult for you, you know, for whatever reason, you don't get too bad too fast with your mind, which then you can self-distract. So I think it's very important to see it as a holistic view. You know, you want to improve all areas of your life while you are improving one very big thing with the dry fasting. You don't want to ignore everything else suddenly. You don't want to just ignore all the people around you. Of course, it's challenging to dry fast. So it's easier if you rest more, if you do more things, and you can do that too. But I want to, if my goal, right, one day maybe, is to become fully autonomous, I do this not for the achievement. I do it for having more energy, having more clarity, I want to be even stronger yet flexible. And by the way, that's a huge thing. Like I got so flexible in this journey. It's for me as an athlete that it's amazing. The feeling of you wake up and you have no tension in your body. You know, even that you had a hard workout the day before, your legs can go, you know, in different ways. Pains that I had when I was playing handball when I was younger, professionally, from 4 years old to 15, and even in the national team in Israel. And I have so many pains that I had there in the shoulders, you know, little points. And it's almost completely dissolving since then. And I had some other skin issues in my hands and things like that that disappear. So it's just looking at the little details, you know, not just focusing on one thing, trying to find wins out of everything, you know. Even 1 week when I was doing the fasting, I fasted less than last week. But I said that's a win because I still did 3 weeks in a row so far compared to before it was 2. So even though, okay, maybe I fasted a day, but last week was 2, you know, it's finding smart ways to stay positive about it and making it long term, not being rushed. But I can understand why most people are getting to more negativity because they have the urgency to deal with the disease. It's been so painful for so long, right? For many of these people that you want to go all in, you discover something that makes you an improvement, you want to fully resolve it. So, but we have to come back and be balanced and say, oh, we found something that helps us, but let's do it one by one, you know, because that will keep it longer later, you know, and we don't want to, if you think about war with a disease, you manifest war and you will always have war in your life. So you have to get out of this pattern, right, of thinking. So these are some of my thoughts. I hope this makes sense.
Yeah, very much. And I still want to come back to the part of blockages. Though I know it's open talk, we're not directing it anyway. We wanted to really dwell on positive mindset, and you have already reached there. Part of where you're talking about war. When a person approaches a fasting as solving problems only, when a person sees fasting as something that is to help him or her get out from a situation, get out from a bad state, then it becomes like a war zone, the way you have put it. But the life you're talking about is a lifestyle, living your life like that. That's approach where you are living. It is part and parcel of you, whether you are awake or asleep or wherever you are. It's just part and parcel of you. So this makes you be in a point in what we call a position of command, and a position where you detect something before it comes. Yesterday we had Dr. Finalov and he was talking to us about, anyway, these things are now coming clear. When now we talk with people, everything is now becoming very, very clear, because before we were just talking, and we didn't have even direction of where we are coming, where we're going. But now it is so evident that fasting is used as the best preventive measure against diseases. But when we want to use fasting as a solution to the disease, it's not wrong. It's still okay, though you might be too late. Because there's always a warning that people are told there are some conditions that if you start fasting with them when they're already advanced, they're not going to be helped. So can I talk about the blockage a little? Because I think there's something that came very clearly. I also see, for me, I always realize this with my thinking. Like if I'm planning for a meeting and I want to have a discussion with someone, if what I've already discovered, if I go and release myself a short call, and in that process of for the short call, the ideas come, even the questions I should ask come very fast. And I find that I become very, very creative, even with my questions. I don't always, most of the time, prepare questions. I don't prepare them. Sometimes also the other thing I also saw with the way I'm just coming back to that part of where you're talking about shedding tears, yawning. It also affects the ears. I don't know, sometimes you can realize that it's like the ears open. It's as if they were blocked. You didn't know, you're not even aware. But then when you're yawning and you're doing what, and it's like the kind of opening sound becomes very sensitive. You can now hear details clearer. So this is just about skills that are there, yet people, we don't see them. But then bathing or shower or swimming also help a lot. At a point, I want to share something that I've been keeping. I've not shared with anyone. At a point when I was in a school, I was very young in the school during my school days. I would bathe because we would go walk home for lunch, come back. So during that time of lunchtime, I would go and bathe and come back to class, because where we are, it's very hot. You find that the teacher is there teaching, people are asleep. But for me, I am following every word, every kind of anything that, because of the bathing that I already done. Why? It opens pores of my skin. It makes it just opens it and it becomes very alert. It's just like we say those blockages. One of the examples of a blockage is when your skin is really it's oily. Yeah, it's very, 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 how do you call it? Blocked with oils or whatever, sweat, whatsoever. So when it's not there, they're just alert. Even the way the wind is blowing, you can feel it. You can feel it. So I became too bright. I was the number one in that class. Not knowing why, I later learned that it was because of the being alert. And one good reason for that being alert was that bathing during lunchtime. And I was also not eating. That's the time I learned also fasting. Naturally, if I don't go back for lunch, I stay in school, I'll not eat. I just stay there like that. A hungry person has also no blockage. Hungry person will not sleep. We always tell people here, people have a problem, even those people I'm supervising or helping with fasting. They say, I want to sleep. I can't sleep. And it's like, no, with this one, it's different. It's the opposite. And they're thinking the fasting is not working. They're thinking that it's now a bad thing because of how they have been. By the way, it's the system that has trained people. And sometimes I always feel like the system also, they are not aware of this. They don't know. It's something that we are people who are, we are coming from these unconventional places and we are bringing some authentic things that later, by the way, what we have discovered, if people can pay attention, it will be life-saving for the entire universe. For the entire universe. There's something I wanted to tell you about blockage also. There's something that I always take like bad energy. I don't know if you know something called hiccup. Like when that thing happens, for me, it is a very bad side. The body wants to take out a very negative energy. It is one of the, if I was to class those blockages, I'm like, take it to be the worst, one of the worst, should be number one for me, dark energy. So I will struggle with it. By the way, I really want people, this is not even important, it's not good even in a fast. When you're in a fasting and that thing attacks you, it's a bad thing for you. You have to struggle with how to get it out. Have you ever had any experiences with hiccups? Not even when fasting, just normally.
I didn't have experience recently with hiccups. When I was younger, I had sometimes some of them, but I know what you mean. Like, also when you're fasting, depending at what stage you are, you start to realize that as you are fasting, at some stages, the body just brings things up right to the surface. Maybe it's hiccups, maybe it's crying, maybe it's some emotions. It brings them up so it can let them go, right? And this is exactly why it's even smarter, in my opinion, to do it gradually, because imagine this, imagine that you have so many things, doesn't matter what stage we are, we have so many things, emotions trapped that can be from 20 years ago, we don't know, blockages of all kinds, from food, from other things in our body. And when we are fasting, the body releases them one by one, right? Depends what it can do in that moment. But because it's so, everybody that fasted and had these experiences knows what I mean. But I would have some moments that I cry like a lot, or I become, I have certain emotions from my childhood, like anger, for example. But I don't know why. Why is it coming? But it's coming so that I can release it, and usually it comes to the mind also, that experience. But if you try to handle it all at once, all of these traumas that you have, all of the blockages, because any physical blockage in the body, in my opinion, is related also with an emotion as well. And if you try to handle it all at once, it's going to be very difficult. Sometimes it's too difficult. And that's why, unfortunately, some people have big issues, with fasting. But why not to be smart about it and handle just one piece, and then another piece of it, and then another piece, and another piece. Maybe it took you 5 weeks, even in that case, instead of one time in one fast. But you got out the same blockages from your body. But you did it the smart way because you had more likelihood of being able to handle it with more ease each time. So I think this is one thing that people don't understand. They think that only if you do the long fast one time, you get your results. But no, you can also release little by little. But that's when you do it weekly, because weekly means it's part of the week, so it's it's adding up. And for me, I experienced that this way I have more smooth sailing in very fast progress, in my life. Very fast, I got more energy, I got more clarity. But it's because I was very careful not to overdo it every single time. But I was also consistent every single week, right? So this way, every time when you're fasting, basically, you give your body more energy to use. But then what the body is doing is basically it's using this energy to start to work on cleaning. Oh, finally we have energy, let's clean the body. And then in that moment you feel like you have less energy. But it's counterintuitive. But now if you do it little by little every week, you faster get to the point that you feel the difference, that you have more energy rather than too less, because the body doesn't tackle too many problems at once, So I feel like this is a smarter approach that has more chances that you will progress and clean your body more. It might take a little longer, but you have less of a bounce back down. It's like with anything in life as a principle, like if you do something so extreme than what you're used to, it has a bounce back. Like, it's like a force, like go fast here, it pushes you back, a little bit. But if you go like this, little by little, you progress and you're always stable. So I like this better because I appreciate my lifestyle, because I have a lot of things that I care about in my life. As I said, different businesses, different missions that I have. a lot of people around me that depend on me. So I need to be able to handle that too. And I care about feeling good. This is why I'm doing the fasting. I'm not doing it just to rush to solve something, to become immortal right away, to become fully autonomous right away, which I would love to. Like, of course, when I experience some of these days of feeling like no sleeping, but it's not just that you don't sleep, but you have more energy not sleeping in those moments when you're deeper into some fasts. It was great. I love it. Like, I love the idea about having more time, and even seeing better with the eyes. I start to see more colors in these moments. Um, but in another way, I was not fully ready for this yet to sustain it, because I think to not sleep at all or to sleep just super little, you have to be aligned with everything else, like um, the way you fast, the way your mind works, because sleep, for one person, sleep can be good, and for another person, sleep can be bad. For one person, eating a fruit can be amazing, and for another person, is not, depending on what you do in average, where are you at. So that's one problem that I had throughout the journey, that I didn't realize this, because um, I was changing so fast and sometimes going back and forth, that in one moment I need the sleep. It's very important, very, very important. And in another moment, it was like, it was okay that I couldn't sleep because, but like you said, some people go deeper into fasting and then they think they cannot sleep suddenly. And then they feel it's a bad thing. So you see, then our mind makes it a bad thing. And then it becomes a bad thing. So that's why, instead of doing it all at once, and then having this back and forth and realization, why suddenly I didn't sleep? Oh, now I need a lot of sleep. What's going on? And I'm confused. And then you self-distract with your mind. Instead, do it little by little, because your mind needs to adapt. It's not just the body. The body needs to adapt for sure, but the mind needs to adapt. You need to learn a lot of things. That's why I like personally to study a lot, but then also I journal, right? I journal my experiences, and at some point I connect the dots and like, that's how it works. So, but I didn't go too deep into struggling before I understood it. So I feel like people underestimate that the mind needs to adapt, basically, to the situation. When the mind adapts, you can stay positive, you feel good, and you don't go against yourself. Um, but another thing, I don't just gradually increase my fasting in the week, okay, or fasting percentage in the year. Let's say, let's put it bigger even, or in the month. Um, I also, as I said, gradually ate lighter and lighter in the week, but it was never like out of like, I just had this intention, but I didn't put a deadline on it. And then my body naturally knew when it's time to eat more fruits and less raw food, when it's time to eat this. But I feel like a problem is psychologically, if you say, next week, I'm going to eat just fruits when I'm not fasting, but you're used to eat a lot of cooked food and things like that, then it's like multiple levels away. Why not just, if you already eat cooked food, then have an extra day of eating fruits? Now we are not too far away. You know what I mean? But if you did it for 1 week, now you are stabilized, or few maybe. Now you are stable here. And now you can say, oh, I ate a bit more, I have more days of raw food, you know? So now you're here, but you're stable. So you don't have that force to go back there, if that makes sense. So I really preach this idea of doing it little by little, because it's not a bad thing. You sustain better where you are, and I think that's an advantage, because again, one day, I see this already, because every month I progress to a new level, but it's easy to sustain it. And one day, I don't know what was the next thing, it will be easy for me. you know, and why to make it hard? We are doing it to gain more energy, to feel better. So yeah, these are some of my thoughts.
And actually, it's more of a spiral kind of where you come from the inner circle as you go out, out. It gives the body, the mind, your everything to adapt. We say slow, you will reach. And again, we were talking about the war part, where you're talking about like a battle. So this is opposite of a battle. This is like you have all the time. Let me just do everything correctly and properly. And this allows you also to be in details, get details of things that most of people may have, like a person who's just coming because of fix a problem, go back to the normal life. We may not be able to see. Like we're talking about heightened senses. You know, there's a lot of heightened senses in the smell. After sometimes even taste. When you get out from the fast, you realize you have good taste. You have very better eyesight. Some people improve their eyesight 20/20. They just get it the whole percent, 100%, just okay, everything. But yet some people even drop their glasses that they've been using. Yeah. And even hearing. So it's just about a total change in you and also your emotions. By the way, I wanted to talk about these when we were talking, it was coming up. That when you come back to food for some time and maybe forget, because you feel this thing is hard or it's not very easy for me, I think I want to relax with food, I can enjoy food for some, and then forget about the fasting, those pilage of emotions come back slowly, those evil ones, those negative emotions, and then you find that you are a very calm person, you start to get angry very easily. And I always tell myself, every time, this is a talk that I have with myself, every time I get a little annoyed, I'm losing mentally. I'm losing psychologically. I'm losing my creativity. I'm becoming the opposite, the otherwise. Wisdom is going away. So every time I see a negative emotion, I know it is a thief, it's stealing away something from me. And I value everything else, but the creativity is my number one. When I cannot think anytime, I cannot think straight, I cannot bring any new idea, it's like I'm already dead. I feel like the life now has no meaning again until I am 100% in my creativity. I always like struggle, and what brings all this struggle are just those negative emotions. So when you do a big rest where you are like gone for good, I don't see the reason for this fasting lifestyle. I feel like it's not working. I've seen other people are saying that another person has died. Giving yourself excuses. What happens is you go back to where you came from slowly again. You may not be able to realize it. You only realize it when you get into a problem. That's when you realize, oh, this is how far I have fallen. It's like falling. It's like falling. Yeah. So I really liked this discussion. I feel like we are going to have another one. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. I love to speak about these things, but look, I have one good way to visualize what you just said, because I explained this to some people before. Like when you do out of a sudden a big fast compared to your average, what you're used to. Some people never fast in their life, and then they do, let's say, 7 days of I don't know, of even juice fasting, let's say, even not dry fasting, that is the most powerful. But for them, it's a lot, right? And then let's say this is your toxicity level. If you see my hand, it's here. Now, when you do 7 days of, let's just say, juice fasting, your toxicity level goes down. It does help you, okay? But the problem is now you didn't change your lifestyle. So slowly, you will come right back to where you were, and probably even continue going like before. You were going up on too much toxicity, and now you did something to reduce, but now you didn't change your lifestyle, so you go right back up. But that's why for some people, like the long fasts, all of a sudden, I mean, long is relative to the person, right? What he's used to, okay? But people want fast results. They think short term. We have to think long term about this. And So if you did 1 week, you did 1 day of fasting, you go a little bit down, right? Like you clear a bit, but now you keep the same lifestyle and everything. So you go slightly up, but then you do another day of fasting next week. You go right back down, but you sustain, you accumulate, because now 15%, 1 day out of 7 in your life, you're fasting. Okay, so now you continue to sustain this. At some point, if you just do 1 day, of course, you're going to stay the same here, but you're not there anymore. And now it's really easy to keep it because you have a habit. So you don't go right back up to where you were. Now, what happens is once you eat 1 day a week, once you don't eat or drink 1 day a week, your body naturally tells you, hey, what you're eating these 6 days, I want to eat a little bit lighter. So now you start to also change that. You don't just expand how many days you're not eating or drinking. You also, on the days that you're eating, you eat lighter a little bit. So now you're a little bit, again, progressing. But it's never too fast that you go right back, you know, like right back. So it's all about the lifestyle and changing your averages. It's not about one time, you know, it's about, you know, doing it like this. But psychologically, it works so good because you never tell yourself on these 6 days that you're eating, I must change this. No, your body starts to tell you, you know, because you did that 1 day of dry fasting. So all you have to think about mentally is do this 1 day of dry fasting. For example, maybe for somebody in the beginning, it's 12 hours. And then he's doing 16 and so on. And then your body naturally tells you to eat less and less on other days. And once you combine, now you're progressing on both how many days you're dry fasting and how light you eat on the rest of the days. But you do it little by little. And now your toxicity keeps going down and it's staying there. And this is the key. We do not want one time and then go back. We want sustainability, you know, and that's what I appreciate the most to achieve, because I don't like to go like a yo-yo, you know. So I think many people just use the wrong approach. You know, 2 people can do 3 days of dry fasting, but with a different approach, they get totally different results. So patience and long-term thinking is something, unfortunately, in this world today, in many areas of life, not many people are thinking. But the successful people that are successful in anything, if it's business or health or dry fasting or whatever it is, they're consistent. What makes you consistent is not overdoing it at once, making it a habit and part of your lifestyle. So, but yeah, I like to visualize these things, you know, it's easier to understand.
Thank you so much. I know because of the timing, we may not have more time now, but we are going to arrange another time. We're going to have this talk. It is a very simple talk. We are not dictating what we are saying. We don't have even a clear map on what we are talking from, which book, which person. No, we're just a free talk. We're just discussing, having a discussion where we want this lifestyle to be possible in our lives, in other people's life, and we are talking about what we are already experiencing, as we also envision what we are pursuing, where we are going. So I think we will invite next time. I'm going to arrange so that we have more people join us as we talk generally. This is very important for everybody. It's just important everybody will be giving their thoughts, their experiences, all that. So thank you so much, PurEL, and if, we have to hang up for now. Goodbye for now.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.